What is up, YouTube, and welcome back to another episode of Curtis Review. It's been a while since my top 10 movies of 2023 video dropped, and I've had the chance to check out a couple of stragglers from 2023, American Fiction being one of them. Directed by Cord Jefferson and starring Jeffrey Wright, Issa and Sterling K. Brown. The cast is amazing, but sadly, I just don't have the time to list all of the incredible performances. Monk, played by Wright, is a working writer who's a bit too full of himself to give into the baser desires of writing a novel that is, well, black, or at least stereotypically black. Viewing himself above that, he leans in and creates a book that is so stereotypically black, written under the pseudonym Stag R. Lee. It becomes famous, and he starts to get acclaim like he's never seen before. It's a fun social experiment that liberal whites have a field day with. Light spoilers ahead, so please proceed with caution. You can always bookmark this video, watch the movie, and then come on back to listen to little old me jabber on about it. American Fiction is also a story about family, death, grief, and most notably, the creative writing process. Unfortunately, this is also to the film's detriment, as it juggles so many plot lines and character angles that its central message, and its most alluring one at that, is lost in a jumble of mixed up ideas. The movie works best when Monk is at his keyboard, typing away as characters appear out of thin air, acting out the lines he's writing, and the audience reading his words come to life on screen. That scene in particular is so fun to watch, hilarious and self-referential. The movie remains fun throughout, but rarely does it meet the high of this scene. That's not to say the movie is without multiple strokes of brilliance. I just wish it had stuck the landing a bit more. And of course, as mentioned, the acting on display is stellar. Tracee Ellis Ross plays Monk's sister, and the brief moments that they're on screen together are touching and hilarious. I wanted more of her and felt kind of miffed at the way her character went out. Jeffrey Wright's and Sterling K. Brown's performances are excellent, but on the whole, I don't quite see what the Academy is seeing. In fact, the more I let the messaging of American Fiction wash over me, the weirder it is that it's gotten so many award nominations. But as we'll find out, that's kind of the point of the movie. Also, I am not shitting on Sterling and Jeffrey. They are great actors and comedically top-notch here. I guess what my real gripe with the movie is that for a film that tries so hard to make you feel something, to move you, I didn't leave the theater feeling that way. It just felt fun. And that's really what I'm here to talk about today. My girlfriend Haley and I recently got engaged. All right. Okay, thank you so much. Yes, we're so happy. Yes, we don't have a date yet, but we'll let you know. And we decided that a small engagement celebration was in order. We wanted to see All of Us Strangers, but it had a short theater run here in Kentucky, so we went with American Fiction and pizza afterward for dinner.
God, I love pizza.
It turned out that American Fiction, while not a perfect movie, was a perfectly fun movie for us to see, and maybe that's why it's worthy of all the aplomb and awards. Also recently, on the plane to Puerto Vallarta for a wedding party, I peeped Bottoms, the new Emma Seligman joint starring Ayo Edebiri and Rachel Ann Sennett, Where My Shiva Baby Fans At, and was reminded about something I thought about a lot when making my end of year list. Movies really felt fun again in 2023. Bottoms was so creative, weird, and crazy, and I loved every moment of it. Not as much as Shiva Baby, but that's not the point. And I think that's what made American Fiction really click for me. It's a glorified rom-com at heart, a modest and chuckle-worthy adventure about a struggling black writer struggling to be a black writer in a world that uplifts and often fails black writers for all the wrong reasons. Or maybe the reasons are right. Being able to pay off those costly living expenses for your Alzheimer's diagnosed mother isn't that bad, even if it means putting your morals aside and publishing a book called Fuck. I was grinning from ear to ear for most of the movie. I was present with the actors and story being told, and I liked how it felt like a sillier and less dark version of adaptation. Jeffrey Wright inhabits the tortured writer type, but he feels less tortured and more curmudgeonly, which is probably a little bit more approachable and palatable for most moviegoers. Even though we don't get to explore as much of the familial drama and Monk's backstory as I would have liked, it was still a movie that was worthy of being watched because it carries the same fun factor as movies like Bottoms, Theater Camp, and Barbie had last year. Not every movie about race needs to end with the main black character being shot by the police. And while our director hammers that point in a few too many times, the script is good, but feels ham-fisted at times. The movie never loses a levity that helps carry you through its runtime. In a post-Atlanta world, it's hard for a movie like American Fiction to hit the way it wants to. There are so many in-world references to Monk's reality that feel straight out of the Donald Glover playbook. And while that's not a bad thing, I wonder if this movie is going to hit for as many people as it hopes to. Now, Atlanta is a much less palatable show in comparison to American Fiction, as it veers into horror territory more often than feel-good territory like we see here with Monk & Co. That said, Atlanta did more adeptly cover the black experience, but sort of in a Amiri Baraka ghost ship kind of way. American fiction's reality can move into magical territory, but it's much more whimsical and silly than it is serious and dark. Its satire is biting in the same way that Atlanta is, and for that it's worth being lauded. It's also, again, more palatable to a wider audience and doesn't contain 4 seasons of television to watch. There's going to be a lot of people that enjoy American fiction as an entryway to satirizing and understanding the Black experience as well as racism in America. Plus, it feels to me sometimes that not as many people watched Atlanta as I thought or wished did when it was airing. It'll be interesting to see when that show gets a resurgence in the future and is heralded even more as a masterpiece of TV writing, performance art, etc. The Curse, which wrapped up its first and probably only season in January, is another instance of modern media that sticks it to white liberals better than almost anything I've seen. It's not exactly the point of what Jefferson and Co. set out to create here, as it's more about the experience of being a Black writer, but it's worth being mentioned. Also, please watch The Curse. It's so fucking awesome, and I want to talk to more people about it. Now, before I go any further and the comment section blows up about how American fiction is behind the times, I want to remind myself and the audience of something. The novel this film is based on, Erasure, came out in 2001. Let that sink in. That book's narrative has been cooking for a while now, and it's just now gotten the movie treatment. Author Percival Everett set out to make this scathing satire, and that came out well ahead of the time that these TV shows I've mentioned that beat the movie version to the punch. So credit where credit is due. Also, I've got the book in my shopping cart and I'm gonna order it ASAP to read. I've got a few other stray thoughts here. White liberals are fully lambasted here, and the power of American fiction comes from its timing. During 2020 and the BLM uprising we experienced during the pandemic, many people, including myself, engaged in virtue signaling Black square activism.
Virtue never tested is no virtue at all.
Because a lot of the sins and privilege of white people were outed in a way that they just hadn't been before, and people had more time to air that dirty laundry and talk about it. We were glued to our screens, random Instagram accounts were screaming representation and racism, and it got pretty cringy and uncomfortable. I look back on that time and it seriously skewed my ability to move about in the world, but it also forced me to sit with the discomfort that comes with racism in America. That American fiction can paint white liberals as such buffoons and kind of the villain of the movie while also giving them a human, if not a bit goonish, quality is a triumph. It means that people are able to make mistakes while figuring out their politics, and it's okay to not take yourself too seriously. The ending of American fiction summarizes that idea perfectly. The movie closes with what you think is a fade to black, much like the ending of The Sopranos, an abrupt interruption of the lived experience of a complex individual. Did anyone else get serious James Gandolfini vibes from Jeffrey Wright, or was it just the excellent clothing and costume choices for him? Still, he's got that gentle giant quality, and I think Wright in general is what makes this movie so touching and comforting. Anyway, that ending, the way that Monk and Adam Brody's movie executive troubleshoot and end up with the most cliche way for the movie to end, and the movie itself ends so clichély past the in-movie ending. Am I making any sense at all?
What am I saying? I had no talent.
Monk gives himself space at the end of the movie to come up with a finale that fits. The writing process is full of blunders and blemishes. Most stories don't even make it out alive with all their best ideas. The editing process can be brutal and sometimes pretty fucking funny. This is all to say that American fiction, while I can't argue is the most essential viewing from 2023 and most likely won't be timeless in the way that other meta-commentary movies are, it's still a fun watch and helped me realize that we're entering a new age of movie-going experiences where we can all begin to poke fun at ourselves and have fun at the cinema again. I'm really hoping that this means we'll get more rom-coms and straight-up comedies, but if we only get some dramedy hybrids, at least make them as good as this. In conclusion, American fiction is a well-done, meta-satire toting excellent performances from its actors, sharp if not uneven writing, and is worth your time if you're looking for something like that. What did you think of American fiction? What movies would you recommend people watch instead of this movie? Leave all the comments below and let me know which movie you think got snubbed by the Oscars this year. It was May December. Thanks again for watching, and don't forget to pound that like and subscribe button as we're still trying to hit our next milestone of 300 subscribers. Until next time,